What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to the channel. So sorry for the stream today, y'all. Anyone that was watching, my internet took a poo, and I had to stop stream after just like 30 minutes or whatever, so it was absolutely awful. I did run a poll over my YouTube community page asking what people wanted to see as a nice evening supplemental video, and people picked Mixed Mode, the Forsaken Temple, Massacre Hardcore Rifted, using either the Flaming Owls or the Harpoons. The vote was actually really close, so I'm going to do Flaming Owls now, and then I'll do Harpoons tomorrow morning. Now, before we get started, a couple things about this map. Remember Mixed Mode. Mixed Mode means that the lanes are diverse. They change every time there is an RNG element on what mobs you get, which means you might run this map one time, and it might be full AFK up to the boss. You might do the exact same build the next run and just get raffle stomped in the first wave. So keep that in mind as you're learning this map and progressing through. I know a lot of people have gotten frustrated with it. It is going to be slightly different every time. Now, in addition to that, I've had lots of people asking about the Huntress build I use. And y'all, I don't use a Huntress build. I don't have a dedicated DPS Huntress. I use a builder every time. So this is my Inferno Trap builder. Everything is dumped into building stats. Nothing is dumped into the hero stats. However, with that in mind, I did give the Huntress the proper weapon, the proper pet, and the proper rune. So the proper weapon is going to be the Fused Dragoon. You're going to get this from the summit. I'm using the Ethereal Marksman set. However, the Marksman's, or the set that you use doesn't matter. Just use a set. Any set will be fine. Using a Propeller Cat. That one's from Alk Labs, of course. And then the Focus Fire rune. Now, the deal with Focus Fire is if you use the crossbow from the keep, it ruins the rune. Because every time that keep weapon pierces and hits an additional enemy, it resets the damage bonus of the rune. So you don't want to use a weapon that pierces. I personally am a fan of the Dragoon, and it allows someone with super sloppy, lazy aim, like myself, to just spray down lanes. So the Dragoon for the win on the Huntress. Now, let's go ahead and get things started out. This one is going to be all about the owls, as I mentioned. Owls are incredibly powerful. However, one thing that just really helps owls out is having a nice amount of crowd control. So we're going to go with 2 Ensnare Auras. We're going to get a Poison Gas Trap right on the core. We're going to protect the core with a Siren. If you don't have the Siren rune yet, what quality you have doesn't matter, as long as you're covering the core. If you don't have the Siren rune yet at all, just use Reflect Beams, y'all. It's all good. And then we're going to throw a Spider down right here as well. Where do we want the Spider? Let's put it like right there. Now, the Spider and the Siren, I am going to give their own buff beam. So we're going to get that nice damage boost for the Overdrive rune. Now we need to take a look at them birds, so we're going to go 2 double stacks. The only important thing with placement here is make sure you get it inside of the Siren bubble, or you have Reflect Beams around it, one of the two. I've got those a little close together. We're going to get 2 upgrades on each one, and we want to give each set of 2 its own buff beam, because once again, we're using that Overdrive rune. So we want to make sure we're maximizing or using the fewest number of defenses on the rune itself to maximize the potential buff. Once we get those down, I'm going to slap 2 upgrades on each one of those as well. Now, I do have the owl set to special enemy targeting. Since it is mixed mode and we don't know what's coming, special enemy targeting is going to make sure that it's going to hit all of those nightmare enemies. So no matter what we get, we're going to be good. However, with that in mind, I got nothing specialized in air. So just to give a little bit of air support, I'm going to throw 1 PDS out here. This one is set to air targeting. I'm going to throw, say, 3 upgrades on the PDS for a little more range, a couple of upgrades on the buff beam as well, and then we can forget about that one. Now, using 2 PDS, it clears the flyers even better. So if you want to give something up for an additional PDS, you would have to give up 8 DU. So it's kind of expensive. And 1 PDS is getting the job done for me personally. Now, let's go ahead and do the exact same build as we did on the other side. Let's get our Siren in place. We'll go with that Spider. We'll give these each their own buff beams. So Siren and Spider on a buff beam by itself. And then we'll go once again with 4 owls. So these ones I'm going to spread apart a little bit more so I don't have to place the buff beams all wonky like. 2 upgrades on each owl. And then each one gets its own buff beam. So overclock there. We got an overclock there. Let's just slap a couple of upgrades in. I've spent a bunch of DU, so just going to throw 2 upgrades. And that's going to leave us a whopping 45 DU for the center lane, which is quite nice. How do we want to start it off? Well, first things first, let's get a siren bubble down. Now, once again, your bubble placement doesn't matter. So if you don't have a higher quality rune, put the siren over on this side. Put it on this side. Put it wherever you want. All that matters is it's covering your core and it's giving you a little bit of buildable terrain inside the bubble. Additionally, remember the boss does have a melee attack that hits as far as the stairs. So don't place anything over in this area or it's going to get slapped, y'all. Going to get slapped. Now, let's go ahead and get this area a little bit more jacked with auras. We're going to just barely cover the core depending on your aura range. We're going to go with an ensnare aura and an electric aura. We've got our siren in place. We got 33 left. Now, let's see. We do want a gas trap as well, actually. Let's go with a gas trap right there. That's going to give us 30, which is what? 10 3DU defenses. So if we use 10 3DU defenses, we can throw 1 owl, say right here. We'll give that owl its own buff beam, which is also going to hit the electric aura. So now we got 1 buff beam handling the owl and the electric aura. That's going to give us enough DU left, I think, for 3 on each side. Yeah, I think 3 on each side is going to work out. So let's go triple stacks here. Of course, we're not getting as much power out of the buff beam, but we're getting the benefit of 3 Flappy Birds cruising around. So we'll go 3 on each side there, and then give each one of these stacks, of course, their own buff beam. Imagine that. Now, we're done. We've got all our DU spent. We got 3,000 left. Now, what am I going to do with the 3,000? Well, I'll be honest, y'all. This map runs slower than hell. It can be a grind to get through to the boss until we find out some good spawn camping builds. This map just takes forever to run. So, with that in mind, for these first 2 waves, I'm going to jack up this electric aura big time. I'm going to throw any leftover change onto that buff beam for the electric aura. And then I'm going to hop on my friendly summoner with a speedy and striking gemstone. And just going to chillax it out through the first 2 waves. So with that in mind, I am going to jump forward to wave 25 here. We'll play through the full wave 25. And I'll show you what kind of upgrades I did along the way. But let's go ahead and jump on forward. Alright, and here we go into wave 25. Now, for wave 24, I split all of the available mana between the 2 side lanes and the PDS. For wave 25 here, I'm going to dump everything into the main center lane. So, I am taking the effort to go around and collect the mana. I'm sure we'll get some no upgrades builds all dialed in here at some point really soon. However, for now, I am making sure to snag up some mana. Got no fancy loot laying around, unfortunately. But we can see everything is dying pretty darn readily here. So, we got 8,000. That's going to be some fat upgrades for the middle. So, let's see. What do we want to do? Well, I think with this electric aura all gassed up, we definitely want to get this buff beam all the way up. And then we'll put a little effort into that owl as well. And then I think if we just go like 2 upgrades on everything, on all the owls here, what is that going to leave us? Let's see, we can go 2 upgrades on the 2 buff beams. That still leaves us quite a bit. So let's go. Actually, we can almost do them all one more time, but let's just hit a couple of them. Do I have enough for another upgrade anywhere? I don't. I guess I can just throw it onto the siren, just because, why not? Now, we'll just let it fly here. Now, you guys are probably sick of hearing me say it, but when you're doing this fight until you get real comfortable with it, just take the same loop over and over again, y'all. Start at the same place when it comes to killing the Temple Guardians. End at the same place as well. That way you know exactly like what the timing is on the Guardians, how much effort you can put into clearing any ground mobs that are, you know, along the way. Even though with mixed mode, the lane schedules are going to change, the Temple Guardians will always be the same as far as their timing. So if you go the same route during the boss fight every time, you're going to find your Temple Guardian experience is pretty chill with running around and getting them. For me, the thing that gets me is I'm just super careless when it comes to jumping on top of kobolds' heads as they're blowing up. So as long as I don't get blown up by a kobold, I usually have a pretty good time here going through on the boss segment of the run. Now, I'm not going to put a whole lot of effort into gathering mana up on this last wave, but I do want to grab the low-hanging fruit. So any mana that's just sitting here staring at me, I am going to yoink it, and we are going to dump it into the center lane. So let's just grab all this stuff that's chilling right around close, and we'll just spam. Mainly into the owls, not putting anything else into any more of the buff beams or anything, but a few more owl upgrades is never going to hurt, so might as well get them birds flapping a little bit stronger. And I think that's going to get it. We're just going to have to let the wave burn. I can't wait to get some spawn camp builds on this map going, because it is a nice looking map. It's a fun boss mechanic and everything. However, the map does take a long time to run, and the rewards are not glorious for it, so it kind of makes you wonder how much worth there is into doing this one. Obviously, you got to do it once to unlock the bonus difficulty that will allow you to go back and farm all the other gear, but the weapons and drops are not necessarily spectacular on this map. Now, hopefully, we get some changes down the road to maybe changes to the weapons, or maybe even having this as a duplicate place for the Arcanist Helm to drop until that system gets reworked. I'm not really sure exactly what all Chromatic has in mind for it, but it would be nice to see something. As it is, like I said, it's a pretty map, it's a fun boss, so having a reason or more reason to farm it would be absolutely wonderful. Now, the pet is pretty good from here. Now, it's not a highest DPS pet, but it's got an amazing cool factor, and it does get the job done. Now, using two of these pets, it does just spam the crap out of the screen with tornadoes, so you're going to have to be careful about that with any sort of performance hits or just eye bleed that it causes. Can we get another upgrade here? We're getting more mana than I expected here. We're at another 1500. Let's pop off another one over on this side. Actually, we can get a couple of them in there. Now remember, once again as well, that the boss's melee attack goes up to the stair here. So when you're fighting the boss, you don't want to go over onto the stair. Additionally, you don't want to build anything over here, or it's going to get slapped. And ain't no fun getting slapped, y'all. So stay away from the slappage. If I screw up and get slapped on this Huntress here, it is just over for me, as it's going to be a one-tap and out. One and done for the Huntress slappage, no doubt. So I'm going to fight the boss like right here for the first segment. Now, of course, after the first segment, he goes over to one of the other points, and then you can just run on out here and get all uppity on him. But until you get to that stage, you definitely want to keep your range just a little, unless you're tanky. You know, if you're big, and if you're a big old tanky Squire or Guardian or something like that, then obviously get on out there and make it happen. But for the squishier glass cannon type builds, stay away from the slap of fury. That is for certain. Another 500. We can get one more bird upgrade in. That's pretty huge. Now, also with the projectiles, no matter what phase he's on, the projectiles are very easy to jump over. It's just the first one. Sometimes you don't see the first one coming right as the cutscene ends, if you haven't removed the cutscenes. So make sure you jump, jump over the projectiles. Don't try to dodge them. Don't try to line of sight them, as a lot of the times they're still going to get you. So we'll just go ahead and we'll pop our buff when there's about 2 seconds left. I've still got the cutscenes going, so I will have to skip the cutscene here. But hopefully can manage to avoid that first boss projectile. And here we go. I forgot to hit the buff. And we didn't avoid the first one, but we should be able to avoid them all from now on out. Let's go ahead and get ourselves boosted. Remember as well to shoot the bird, y'all. Flaming birds hit like a truck. I think I pretty much guaranteed this is going to be a 4-cycle. We'll have to see here. But it took me way too long to get through that first boss segment. Almost jumped off into the goo. And now it's time for Construct killing. Let's see what we can do. He's still way up there. So let's just get these nightmare enemies burned out. We'll put some damage on them here. And see if we can't get a good loop in. So, not going to hesitate to shoot any gen or anything that has potential issues to be a problem. So, you know, I'm not going to go out of my way to shoot anything. But if something is right there in front of me, you know, why not? Like that Copter Ogre, for example. Why not get a couple shots in on that guy? Just avoid the Copter slappage. It looks like this one is already dead. We got another Copter pushing in hot over here. Looks like we got that one. We got one last Guardian to kill, and then we'll be back on the boss segment. The boss is up. Once again, we're just going to jump projectiles. And see if we can't get a nice cycle in here on him. Yeah, it's going to be a 4 cycle. There is just no doubt. So let's go ahead and get our loop started again. Too much derp there in the very start of the boss fight. We got mages here now. Mages we're going to have to be a little careful of because they will one-tap me if they hit me. And then I'm also going to have to reset my buff here really, really soon as well. Is that guy dead yet? Good gosh. Okay, he's finally dead. My buff reset on its own as I just ran out of juice. That Temple Guardian there is already dead. We can get our buff back up. And that Temple Guardian is dead as well. So we're doing pretty good here. We did get an Ogre. We got another one coming in right here. That one is down. And then we should just have our last Temple Guardian. Then we can get another boss cycle in. That Guardian is down as well. So let's just go ahead and pew this guy. We got our buff up, so we're in good shape. I'm not going to be able to cycle all the way through him, though. That is for sure. Yeah, we're going to have a rough 4 cycle, actually. Usually he's a little lower. With the dedicated DPS hero, of course, those problems are trivialized. So, piece of cake. Just use a dedicated DPS hero, or just prepare to sweat a little. As, you know, there's no reason for it to take you that many cycles to kill him. Particularly if you're using somebody with any bit of juice whatsoever. Okay, that one is down. Let's get a couple of shots on Mr. Copter Ogre. A couple shots on that one as well. That one's actually going to come into the lane. Or nope, it dropped. Okay, I want to avoid that helicopter crash. And then continue to make our way. I'm going to go ahead and reset my buff again, just so it's good to go. Okay, this Guardian is already down, so we're in good shape there. Let's get our buff back up. We got our last Guardian to kill. Last Guardian is down, and hopefully we can cycle the boss here on this one. I jumped way too soon, but we still were able to get the job done. So, jump over the projectiles makes it a lot easier. Let's check out a nice polearm here and see what we can get. Let's get rid of some of the eye bleed here with all the R's and whatnot. So we can see the shining on the ground. Nothing Supreme. Big bummers there. Looks like no Supreme drops at all on that one. Let's see. What kind of polearm did we get? Not terrible. Not terrible. I'm going to save that one just in case those polearms do ever get buffed. The Zephyr can be quite powerful too if you get a good roll. That one obviously is a little less to be desired. But there is the Flaming Owl on Massacre, Mixed Mode, Hardcore, Rifted, the Forsaken Temple. So, Harpoon's up next, y'all. I'll get that one out early tomorrow, but that will do it for this one. So, thanks a ton for watching, and I will see you next time around. Take it easy.